Okay, so we're diving into this crazy story that's been all over the news.
Yeah.
It's about a kayaker off the coast of Cape Cod, I think it was, that ended up inside a whale's mouth.
Inside a whale's mouth.
I know, right? Sounds unbelievable, right? Like something out of a movie.
It does sound like clickbait.
Totally. But it really happened.
Yeah.
And thankfully, the kayaker's totally fine.
Yeah.
But this whole thing got me thinking.
Yeah.
It's the perfect opportunity for a deep dive, into some fascinating whale facts.
Right.
And maybe we could bust some myths along the way, too. What do you think?
Absolutely. I think this event really shows just how much we still don't know
Right.
about these amazing creatures.
Exactly. So let's break this whole swallowed by a whale thing down.
Okay.
First of all, is that even accurate? I mean,
Well, not really. The way this story has been reported, it
Yeah.
caused a lot of confusion. You see humpback whales,
right.
which is the type of whale involved in this incident,
Yeah.
are what we call filter feeders.
Okay, hold on a sec. Filter feeder. I know some of our listeners
Yeah.
might be new to this term. Could you break that down for us?
Of course. Imagine you have this giant strainer,
Okay.
the kind you might use in the kitchen to
Yeah.
drain pasta.
Yeah.
Humpbacks, they have these special plates in their mouths called baleen. And these plates, they act like that strainer,
Okay.
filtering out tiny organisms from the water.
Like what kind of organisms?
Mostly krill, which are like tiny shrimp,
Okay.
and also plankton.
Got it.
And their throats, they're actually quite narrow. So swallowing something as big as a human,
Yeah.
physically impossible.
So if they can only swallow tiny things like krill and plankton,
Right.
how in the world did this kayaker end up in the whale's mouth?
So humpback whales have this feeding technique.
Okay.
It's called lunging. And basically they swim upwards with their mouths wide open,
Wow.
scooping up huge amounts of water and all this tiny organisms.
So the kayaker was just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
It seems that way. It was an accidental engulfment,
Got it.
not an intentional attack.
So no Moby Dick situation here.
Nope, not at all.
But I bet this story plays into people's fears about whales being aggressive.
You're right. People see these massive creatures and they can be intimidating.
Right.
But humpback whales, they're actually known for being incredibly gentle.
Really?
Yeah, their breaching behavior.
That's when they leap out of the water, right?
Exactly. It might seem scary, but it's often just playful.
Huh. So like a giant playful puppy.
Pretty much. This incident actually gives us a chance
Yeah.
to change those misconceptions and really appreciate these amazing animals.
You know what's mind-blowing to me?
What's that?
That something that big can survive on such tiny creatures.
It's pretty incredible, isn't it?
How much do they even eat?
Well, during peak feeding season, a humpback whale can eat up to a ton.
A ton.
A ton of krill and plankton.
Whoa. That's like 2,000 pounds of food every day.
That's right. They need all that energy for migration, breeding,
Yeah.
raising their young. It's a lot.
That's wild. Talk about a big appetite.
It really shows you how efficient that feature feeding system is.
It does. I mean, imagine being surrounded by all that water
I know.
and the sheer size of the whale. It must have been terrifying for that kayaker.
Oh, absolutely. It must have been a completely jarring experience.
Yeah.
But thankfully, they stayed calm and escaped without any injuries.
That's amazing. It really shows you how unpredictable the ocean can be.
It does, and that unpredictability is part of what makes it so awe-inspiring.
For sure. But it also shows how powerful nature is.
Exactly. We have to respect that power.
Okay, so we talked about how whales aren't out to get us
Right.
and how amazing that filter feeding thing is. But this incident brings up a big question. For anyone who might be out on the water
Yeah.
with these gentle giants, how can we avoid a similar encounter?
That's a great question. The key is respecting their space.
Okay.
If you're kayaking or boating and you see a whale,
Yeah.
maintain a safe distance.
How far are we talking?
At least 100 yards.
100 yards. That's about the length of a football field, right?
That's right. And remember, even though humpback whales are generally gentle,
Yeah.
we're visitors in their world.
Eh,
It's our responsibility to observe them responsibly.
Okay, so respect their space. It's crucial for everyone's safety.
Exactly.
So we've tackled that whole swallowing myth.
We did.
We explored filter feeding. We talked about responsible whale watching. What else can we learn from this story?
Well, one misconception I hear a lot is that whales are solitary creatures.
Oh yeah, you always hear about the lone wolf of the sea, all that.
But in reality,
Yeah.
humpbacks are actually very social animals.
Really?
They are. They're known for their complex communication.
What?
They use a variety of sounds,
Oh wow.
including those beautiful whale songs.
Yeah, the whale songs, I love those.
They often travel in pods, too.
Pods.
Groups, sometimes with dozens of individuals.
Wow.
They work together to find food and raise their young.
So more like a giant underwater family reunion.
Exactly. And their social interactions are fascinating.
You know, this brings up an interesting point.
What is it?
If these whales are so social
Yeah.
and they travel in groups, could that have played a role in this incident with the kayaker?
It's definitely possible humpbacks communicate and coordinate their movements.
Oh, I see.
Especially during feeding.
Yeah.
So the kayaker might have accidentally stumbled into a coordinated feeding friends.
So it wasn't just one whale.
Right.
It could have been a whole group.
Potentially.
Yeah. Wow. That adds a whole new layer to this story.
It does, and it really emphasizes the importance of understanding their behavior.
And respecting their space.
Exactly.
Okay, let's talk about responsible whale watching.
Okay.
You mentioned it's crucial,
It is.
but for someone who's never been whale watching,
Yeah.
what does that actually look like?
Well, it's all about minimizing our impact
Right.
on these animals and their environment, while still enjoying the experience of seeing them in the wild.
Of course.
First, you need to choose tour operators that prioritize ethical practices.
So do your research.
Yes. Look for certifications from reputable organizations that promote sustainable whale watching.
Once you're out on the water, what then?
The key is to be a respectful observer.
Okay.
Maintain a safe distance.
Remember that football field length?
Exactly, and let the whales dictate the interaction.
Don't chase them down.
No, don't approach them directly
Right.
or get in their way.
So basically be a guest in their world.
Exact, and it's not just about physical distance, it's
Right.
also about minimizing noise
Uh-huh.
and disruption.
Okay.
Keep your voices down.
Yeah.
Avoid sudden movements.
Got it.
Never try to touch or feed the whales.
So be present, be quiet, and admire these amazing creatures from a distance.
You got it. Even small actions can make a big difference.
You know, this makes me think about the bigger picture.
Yeah,
We've been focusing on this one story,
right.
but it highlights something much larger.
What's that?
The impact we have on our oceans
Absolutely.
and the creatures that live in them.
This incident is a powerful reminder that even if we don't live on the coast,
Right.
our actions can affect marine life,
Mm-hmm.
things like pollution,
Yeah.
climate change,
Right.
overfishing.
It all adds up.
It does. All these things pose serious threats
Yeah.
to whales and the whole ocean ecosystem.
So this isn't just a story about a lucky escape.
No,
It's a call to action.
it is. It's an opportunity to think about our relationship with nature.
And how we can be better stewards of our planet.
Exactly.
We've covered a lot today.
Yeah.
Filter feeding whale behavior, responsible whale watching, and the impacts on our oceans.
It's been a great discussion.
Before we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Yeah.
I want to appreciate the resilience of both the kayaker and the whale.
It's incredible, isn't it?
The kayakers survived this unbelievable experience.
And the whale
Yeah.
probably didn't even notice the drama,
Right.
just kept swimming.
It shows the adaptability of both humans and nature.
It does.
And it reminds us that even when things seem impossible,
Yeah,
there's always hope.
there is.
We can learn from these experiences,
Right.
adapt our behavior,
Absolutely.
and work together to protect life on our planet.
Well said.
We've thrown a lot of information at you today.
I know, it's a lot to take in.
Let's recap some key takeaways,
Good idea.
especially for those learning English as a second language.
This story is full of great vocabulary
Yeah.
about marine life and conservation.
For example, we talked about filter feeders.
Right, which describes animals like humpback whales
Yes.
that strain tiny organisms from the water,
Remember those baleen plates?
like a giant strainer.
Exactly. We also talked about respecting their space.
Maintaining a safe distance from whales.
Right, and avoiding anything that could disturb them.
And we talked about the ripple effect
How our actions, even small ones, can have consequences.
for the environment and the creatures that live there.
These are just a few examples.
Right.
But pay attention to the language
Mm-hmm.
and try to use these new words and phrases.
Learning a language is all about practice. And now I kind of want to shift gears a bit
Okay?
and think about the bigger picture. You know, what can this encounter teach us about how we interact with the natural world?
It really does make you think about some big questions, doesn't it? Like, it forces us to confront our own ideas
Yeah.
about the ocean
Mm-hmm.
and all the creatures that live there.
It's like a reminder that we still have so much to learn.
About the natural world.
Right. Even with all our technology and
Yeah.
exploration, there's still so much we don't know.
And all those connections between living things.
It's a complex web.
It is. We tend to think of ourselves as separate from nature.
Yeah,
But this story really shows how connected we are.
it does.
The choices we make, even on land,
Mm-hmm.
can have a huge impact on the ocean.
That's right.
Even if we don't live near the coast, we hear about things like polluting and climate change.
Right.
but sometimes it's hard to feel connected to those issues.
I know what you mean.
This story, though, it brings it home.
It does.
It shows us that our actions directly affect these incredible creatures.
It's a powerful reminder.
It is. And it makes me think we have a responsibility to do something.
Absolutely. Whether it's reducing our plastic use,
Right.
supporting sustainable fishing,
Yeah,
or advocating for policies to protect the oceans.
every little bit helps.
It all adds up.
It's funny how we started with this kayaker
Yeah,
being accidentally engulfed by a whale,
right.
and now we're talking about global conservation.
It's amazing how one event can lead to such a big conversation.
It really is. I think it shows the power of stories.
It does. So sometimes it takes something dramatic
Yeah.
to really grab our attention.
Right.
And make us think about our relationship with nature.
You know, one thing we haven't talked about much is the kayaker's perspective.
Oh, that's interesting.
We've focused on the whale's behavior.
Right.
But what about the human side of this? How do you think this experience affected the kayaker?
I can only imagine the feeling of being inside a whale's mouth.
Yeah.
The darkness, the sheer terror.
Right.
It must have been life-changing.
I bet it changed their whole view of nature.
Absolutely, and their own vulnerability.
It makes you realize how powerful the ocean is.
And how quickly our sense of control can disappear.
Exactly. But even with that fear and chaos,
Mm-hmm.
there's also a sense of awe.
I think so, too.
I mean, they survived.
They did.
They had this unbelievable story to tell.
A story that most people wouldn't believe.
Right. And it speaks to the resilience of the human spirit.
It does, and to the unexpected wonders of nature.
I like that. It's not just about the fear or the danger, but also about the beauty and the mystery of it all.
This story reminds us to approach the ocean with both caution and wonder.
To respect its power, but also be open to new experiences.
Well said.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Okay.
I want to leave you with this thought, this encounter between the kayaker and the whale.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds us that we are part of something bigger than ourselves.
We are.
It's a call to reconnect with nature
To appreciate its beauty.
and to protect its balance,
It's a story that challenges us to
Yeah.
think differently about our place in the world.
and to be responsible stewards of our planet.
Well said.
Thank you for joining us on this journey into the depths of the oceans. We've explored some fascinating whale facts and busted some myths along the way. We've also talked about the importance of respecting nature and taking responsibility for our impact on the planet. Remember, every action counts, whether it's reducing plastic use, supporting sustainable fishing, or simply spreading awareness about the challenges facing our oceans. Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep advocating for a healthier, more sustainable future. Until next time.
Thanks for joining today's chat on Your Daily English Spark. If you enjoyed this session and want to keep improving your English, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. What topic would you like us to cover next? Let me know in the comments. And don't miss our next episode, where we'll dive into mastering small talk. See you next time.